Thanks everybody for coming.
Quinlan.
My name's Adam Scow. I'm part of the CORA committee. Thank you so much for coming out on this windy day. We've got some important information to share. We've got some short presentations, and then I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions and ideas about how to make some improvements. So I want to introduce our first speaker. She's a school nurse, right? Retired school nurse. Been working on this issue for many years, and she's going to tell you about some of the research she's been doing, looking at state data, local data on this problem of toxic pesticides around Watsonville here in the Pajaro Valley. So please welcome Kathleen Kilpatrick.
So our group that is putting this on is CORA. Our vision is transforming the Pajaro Valley to organic and regenerative. But I've also worked for years with Safe Ag, Safe Schools, and our vision is also to just overall reduce pesticide exposure of people who live in agricultural communities and everyone, as a matter of fact. So we have 4 groups that are our target, I guess you could say, constituency. Farm workers who are the most exposed to pesticides, agricultural community members, that's us, living next to the fields where our food is produced, consumers who care about both the quality of the food they eat and how it's produced, whether it's produced safely and justly, and then the big one, the environment, the impact of agricultural chemicals and farming methods on our environment, and we are very concerned about our environment. So we're starting very local here in the Pajaro Valley, but this project is even more local because most of you live in the senior community or in the vicinity right around here, and there have been concerns expressed about your pesticide exposure because you live right next to the fields and you walk along the fields and it's right there. You see the guy in the hazmat suits, you get that dust in your house. So we've been trying to at least start with getting some notification when the most toxic pesticides are applied. And our Ag Commissioner originally said, no, can't do it. But now the state is offering to do pilot projects for a statewide program, and he finally said yes. So you guys are going to be in that project zone, a lot of you. So we want to make sure that you engage with that process because they're not going to give you what you want to know. So I'm going to first just put us on the map. So the state of California is actually really good about recording pesticide application. They put that into a big database, but it's not that easy to find out what those things are and when. You get the information late. So back when I started to work with SAS, our little nexus for our work was the schools because there's kids who live or who go to school next to fields also, and teachers. So we found out that the state of California, the Department of Health was concerned about the kids and their proximity to fields, and they did they did a paper about this, about how that was possibly a harm for our children, and there ended up being this whole campaign to get notification at the school level for pesticide use. And that was when we found out about this map, which the Department of Health originally did. They've now contracted out to a group called Tracking California. And it takes the data from the Department of Pesticide Reform, which I'll refer to as DPR henceforth, and puts it on the map. So I'm going to show you some of those maps. So I'm going to explain it to you a little bit. I'm going to step away from the mic so I can see. So
you can take the mic with you.
I can't carry it. I can't stand it. Okay. So here's the state of California. That big red streak is the San Joaquin Valley. That red streak there is the Monterey Bay area and the Salinas Valley, if we look at so these red squares refer to poundage and percentile of pesticide use. So white is none, or little or none. Pink is some, and red is more, 75th percentile. So if you look at Santa Cruz County all grouped together, we're only pink because we're not an ag county like Monterey County. But if you look at pesticide use in the Monterey Bay region, here's the Watsonville area and the Salinas Valley. You can see that red stripe. This is by township, 7 square miles. And then if you look closer by section, 1 square mile, it's pretty easy to see that most of the pesticides applied in Santa Cruz County are applied in the Pajaro Valley. Okay, so this is a township map of the Watsonville area, all in the red. This is, if you zoom in closer to the section map, here is our neighborhood. And if you look closely at this map, you can see here we are. That's Staff of Life Foods, right there in the middle of that map. Our senior neighborhood is right here. So that's where we are on the map. This is a picture of our neighborhood. This is back before the raspberries went in. But you can see, where that palm tree is. I live a few blocks behind there, and I think most of you live in that neighborhood. You can see how close the fields are to our houses. So on this mapping system, you can also look at trends in pesticide use. And the trend in pesticide use in Santa Cruz County has been kind of aiming down. So I forgot to mention the last year information is available on this map is 2018. So we're looking at 5-year-old data here. So they're trending down. There's been more organic, but still, it overall has not gone down that much. And then you can also find out from this map, again, trends by township and poundage. And I think the last year pesticides, 2018, there were like well over 1 million pounds of pesticides applied in Santa Cruz County. And then you can also look at this map and look by categories. So see this column that I put a little pink line around? That has the names of the category, the initials for the categories of the particular brand of toxicity. So carcinogens, toxic air contaminants, fumigants, reproductive and developmental toxins. Anyway, you can get all that on the map. So here we are again. This is all pesticides. This is carcinogens. All those red squares are carcinogens. And people in the senior neighborhood got concerned because of a particular application of malathion. Here's the malathion application map for 2018 for the Pajaro Valley. So when you look at the map, and I would encourage you all to learn how to use that map. You can go all the way down to the neighborhood that you live in, and you can find out a lot about what pesticides were applied 5 years ago. Maybe it'll be 4 years ago the next time they put data out. But there's a system, and we will talk about this. I'm not going to bring that over. You can probably just pop that down there. So the Ag Commissioner has offered to do some notification of our neighborhood, a 1 mile square or 1 mile round radius kind of centered on the senior neighborhood because we have been squeaky wheels. And they say, okay, well, we'll do this pilot project. But so they only want to notify people in this 1 mile radius area. They want people to sign up to be notified, and they're only going to notify you about fumigants. Now, fumigants are not a great thing to have in your neighborhood. They're toxic gases, but they only apply them every other year. Are they going to tell you about malathion? It's not even on the list of restricted chemicals. Are they going to tell you even about the other restricted chemicals, if there are any? No, they're not. So we want to participate in this project, but the way we want to participate is to say, this is not what we want. We want to know right on time before they're applied if toxic chemicals are applied. And we want everybody to have access to that information. We also want that information to be available in multiple languages so people can access it if they don't happen to be English speakers with excellent reading skills. We want links to information about the particular chemicals. And then we also, we need it in advance so that if we want to protect ourselves and close the doors and windows, or keep our dogs and cats in, or not take a walk on the levee that day, we don't have to wait until we see the guys in the hazmat suits to do that. So anyway, that's what we're doing. We're launching in our neighborhood, but it's a big picture. The big picture is first transforming the Pajaro Valley and making it a model for the whole state and the whole country. And then transforming the state, transforming the country, changing the way we do agriculture so that we help our environment instead of harm it, and we keep human beings and all the other flora and fauna around us safer. So that's pretty much, we will talk to you at the tables about the individual projects. There are some handouts here, and if you have questions, now is a good time to ask. Questions for me?
In addition to this, have they done health studies on the population that is living here to show if there's any kind of correlation between all these horrible pollutants that they're spreading one way or another and the rise in things like cancer?
Would you repeat the question?
Yeah, okay, she's asking about studies that have been done. You mean on the senior population? And their exposure. So I'm a nurse practitioner. I studied occupational and environmental health. And got a master's at the University of Washington and took courses and all that. And I can tell you that there have been studies done that have been about people who have been farmers, not in our neighborhood, not in this community. Farmers do have some areas where they have better health because they're farmers. They work outside, they're active and all that. And there are certain things that farmers are more susceptible to. In terms of cancer, cancer's a really hard one because so many different things contribute to cancer that it's very hard to pin down one thing. But I can tell you that when they look at these particular chemicals, they only look at them one at a time. They don't look at the combination. They don't look at the long-term exposure. So we don't really know. When places like what was the name of that place where PG&E polluted the water? Anyway, which one? The woman who became famous in Julie
Brockovich, Erin Brockovich.
Erin Brockovich, thank you.
That was her guy.
Senior brain. Anyway,
Flint,
they won their lawsuit,
Yes.
but they couldn't prove that there was a cancer cluster there because it's just really complicated. And if you have a small population of people, there's so many different factors that they have to rule out. So no, these studies are not being done. The studies that they have been doing most recently on chemicals, there's been a big study done in the Salinas Valley called the Chamacco Study, and it was done with children from pre-birth to birth, and it showed intellectual and developmental harm and increased asthma for kids whose mothers had been exposed to pesticides. Other questions?
So, a couple of things. The name of that study that you're wanting to talk about, I believe it's called the Agricultural Worker Study. That big long-term study on Iowa and North Carolina farmers and the health consequences of the employees, pretty much, of agricultural exposure.
There have been quite a few studies done on workers, and again, there have been some things that they've correlated with specific chemicals, but by the time you get to studies that are called epidemiological studies, which are population-based studies, the chemicals are already out there. They do lab studies where they test them on animals. They do studies where they test them in the petri dish. And they do some limited human studies. Mostly what they're looking for in those studies of the human studies is acute effects. It's like, are you obviously poisoned? Not, will you get cancer 10, 20, 15 minutes or 50 years later? Any other questions?
So I had a couple of questions about the pilot project. Is the California Department of Health is doing this pilot project?
No, the Department of Pesticide Reform is doing the project.
So any
Can they
funding,
partner?
is it all state funding or were there any private entities?
The state allocated $10 million to roll out a statewide program. I'm kind of assuming that the pilot projects are coming out of that $10 million.
Okay.
And there will be an opportunity to participate at the statewide level. There may be some workshops happening, we hope, Monterey County, probably not in Watsonville, but where you can go and say, wait a minute, you're not giving us what we want more information. So we have our little local pilot project and we have what's going on at the whole state. And I would really encourage you to participate at both levels.
So the way this pilot is working is you give your information to them, how to contact you, and then they contact you before the spraying, before the fumigants are sprayed, or how does that?
Yes, they would send you an email or a text before the fumigants were applied. I think 24 hours before.
So it can all be documented.
Yeah, but they're only going to do that when fumigants are applied, which, as I said, is not that often.
I'm thinking about the drinking water in Watsonville, and it's from wells. And the pesticides are being applied to the dirt all around Watsonville. Are you confident that the water is
Safe to
good
drink.
and safe without significant levels of pesticides? The Watsonville Water Department says it's fine,
Yeah.
and there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, they do test the water, and they test it for certain pesticides. There are certain chemicals that are not necessarily agricultural that have been shown in elevated levels in our drinking water in the Watsonville area. The main one is chromium-6. Chromium-6 is at elevated levels in a lot of the individual wells and water systems around here. But in terms of pesticide contamination of water that would impact human health, they have not shown that. One thing that you and I were talking about is that quite a few of the chemicals that are used in agriculture here are harmful to aquatic life. So if they run off into the water systems, they will harm the creatures that live in the water, frogs and all those other little creatures that help purify things. And you might not notice them in the major water supply, but you might notice less frogs in your neighborhood. So, other questions?
Are you looking to partner with the Department of Public Health?
Say that again.
Are you looking to partner with Public Health, the Department of Public Health?
You mean like the local Department of Public Health?
Yes.
I'm not sure we're going to get much out of them. They do have somebody whose job is environmental something or other, but everything in ag and ag chemicals goes through the county ag commissioner and DPR. That's the way the state is channeled. The big ag in California has a huge amount of power, and the system has been designed to protect them. I mean, that's my opinion, but I'd have to say it's been that way since they started farming in California when the gold miners were here. So, other questions?
Did you tell us how you can sign up to be in the, get notified through the pilot project?
Did what?
Did you tell us how to sign up?
He hasn't started that yet. It's
Oh, I
not
see.
going to be.
I
It's
see.
not going to be rolled out. He said late spring. That's what Juan told me day before yesterday.
So if people sign up on our email list, we'll let them know as soon as we.
Yeah, and there probably will be more public information out. So what we were thinking would be great would be people who live in the same neighborhood. If some of you live in Pajaro Village, there's that community center. We could have another meeting and have people come there. I'm sure Juan Hidalgo would show up. He has showed up. He showed up for our Bay Village meeting, and he showed up when people were upset, on Zoom anyway, when people were upset about the malathion spray right over their fence. So he would. Oh, Juan Hidalgo is the county agricultural commissioner. He's a nice guy. As ag commissioners go statewide, he's one of the best. But you know, his resources are limited, and he sees his job as making sure the food gets grown.
So do sign up on our mailing list. If you want to be informed, we will definitely let you know as soon as there's a way to sign up. That's one way to get informed.
So, and if there's more questions, I'll be sitting by one, either this one or that one after we have our speakers speak, and you can come and talk to me, and most of you know where I live, so.
I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathleen.